Hello everyone. This video is part of our course Entrepreneurial Management and Leadership. You already watched one video in this session. In that video I talked about starting up a business. As I mentioned, in this session we're looking at entrepreneurship mainly from the perspective of an individual. What is it to start up a business? What is it to lead a business? The first video of this session was about starting a business, and we're now going to focus on leading a business. Entrepreneurial leadership, being an entrepreneurial leader, actually, in my opinion, maybe that is the wrong question or not the thing we want to focus on, because it's difficult to say who's an entrepreneurial leader, who is not, just as it's difficult to say who's an entrepreneur and who's not. Are you automatically an entrepreneur if you have your own business? Can you be an entrepreneur without having your own business, and so on? These issues we have dealt with already, and I said that it's not the thing we're going to focus on in this course. So actually what we're going to focus on and what we're going to learn about when we talk about entrepreneurial leadership is that what kind of leader and what kind of leadership does it take to make a company or an organization function in an entrepreneurial way. What kind of leader is able to make the employees act in an entrepreneurial way, make them act in a way as they would be working for their own company. And that is what we're going to have a look into in this video and also in the assignments that you are doing. Entrepreneurs come in very different forms and shapes. They do not all look the same. You cannot say that this is a typical entrepreneurial leader, and we don't have any kind of checklist where we could say that a leader is entrepreneurial if we can say that this is true, and this is true. But I have here listed some things that I would claim are common for the leaders who are able to make their company or their organization entrepreneurial. First of all, the capacity to see opportunities and act on the opportunities. That even if things are difficult, even if there's a lot of uncertainty, the leader is able to see the opportunities and look at things from a positive perspective. That is something that these entrepreneurial leaders all have in common. And hand in hand with that comes the possibility or the capacity to create visions, but also to cast vision, to spread the vision to the people around you, to the people in the organization. A good leader, a leader who is able to make the people act entrepreneurially, is one who can make them feel that this is not just the vision of the leader, but this is our vision. We have a common vision, or we have a shared vision for the whole company. It's very closely linked to change and change management, because things change very quickly. Nowadays we're living, I would say, in a continuous stage of change, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be something that involves a lot of risks. Instead, we should look at it as something positive and see the opportunities. But it takes a leader who is able to express these things in a way that the employees can understand that this is a good thing, not a negative thing that we have to change. No entrepreneur is an island. Nobody can make it on her own or his own. We need to have teams. We do things together. This is also something that we talked about when we talked about innovation management in this course, that you hardly do the good, really big breakthrough innovations by yourself. You need a team, you need a network. So if you want to be a good leader, a good entrepreneurial leader, you need to be able to create teams and make the people in the team really work together, to motivate people, to empower people. Because in an entrepreneurial organization, it cannot be just about the leader. You need to give away at least part of the power to the other people so that you can make the decisions together, so that you actually get things done in your company. Here, these are borrowed from Carrie Damon. You also see a link here if you want more information. She says that leading and managing is something that you do in 4 areas, also when it comes to entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial leader. The first thing you need to lead is the strategy. You need to have a strategical approach to what you're doing. This is because you need to discuss with the people in your network. You need to have a plan that you actually share, that you all agree on. It doesn't always go according to plan, but you still need a plan. Just the same as what we talked about when we talked about having a business plan and doing a business plan that is actually part of the strategical planning. If you don't have a strategic approach, you will get chaos, especially when the company keeps growing and you really need to step up as a leader. Then you need to have a strategy, because otherwise, really believe me, things will be chaos in the company. But a strategy is not enough. You also need to manage and lead the results. With that, I mean that you must be able to implement your strategical plan. I have come across people, and I guess you also have at some point come across people who are very good at talking, very good at describing their ideas and their visions, and it all sounds very good. But when it comes down to doing something and really getting something done, nothing happens. For some reason, they just talk and talk, but nothing happens. Those people hardly ever are good leaders or good entrepreneurs. A good entrepreneurial leader needs to be able to get things done, to execute the plan, and also be able to measure what's being done. Are we going in the right direction or not? The third area that you need to lead and manage is your team. The people working for the company, the people working for the organization. You need to listen to them, you need to discuss with them, you need to see their needs and also see their potential. Where are they now? How can you help them develop? How can you empower the people working together with you in your team? And finally, the fourth one, and also the most difficult one, leading yourself. Being in control of what you are doing, being able to prioritize, to see what is important, what's maybe not so important, and also being able to stay motivated when things are not working out the way you want them to work out. As I mentioned, there's not really a definition for an entrepreneurial leader, who is an entrepreneurial leader and who is not. But I find this model developed by Daniel Goleman to be very, very interesting. And he talks about 6 styles of leadership. And I want you to remember that it's not about putting people into boxes. It's not like you can take a test and say, what kind of leader am I? His point here, and this is based on quite a large, extensive study involving several thousands of leaders in the United States. And his point is that there's different kind of leadership, and a good leader knows what kind of leadership is needed. A good leader knows how to switch between different kind of leaderships. A good leader also recognizes that different kind of leadership will affect the culture in the organization in different ways. There are those kind of leadership styles that makes the climate in the organization positive, and then there are those styles that takes the climate or the organization culture to a more negative stage. But let's go through them one by one. And why I have circled 4 of them is because these 4 are the ones that will take the organizational culture and develop a positive culture, a positive climate in the organization, whereas those two outside the circle are the ones that those are likely to lead to a negative climate, negative culture in the organization. That being said, doesn't mean that you should never use them, but they should be used very seldom and very, very carefully. The first leadership style mentioned here is the visionary style. This you can use to mobilize people, and this is very effective according to Goldman, especially when the company is in a stage where you need a clear direction, you want to change something in the organization. Then you as a leader, you must be able to convince the people in the organization that this is our vision, this is the goal, this is where we are going. And you need to adjust your leadership style in a way that you get the people to be involved in the change. The second one, coaching, a coaching leadership style, means that you help the people to develop, you prepare the people for the future. This works best and is needed when the company is in a stage where you build on your long-term strength. If you need to get things done very quickly, a coaching leadership style is not always the most effective tool to use. But if you're in a stage where you have things don't have to move very, very fast, then you as a leader can act as a coach and choose to have a coaching leadership style. Then we have the third one, which is an affiliative style of leadership. This is very much about creating emotional bonds, creating harmony in the group. This works or should be used in situations where the company is in a quite stressful situation. But as you know, if we are under too much pressure, if the situation is too stressful, we will not be able to do our best. Then you as a leader need to choose an affiliative style of leadership where you can convince the people in the organization that things are going to work out. It's fine, don't worry, it's going to work out. And you as a leader, you have the role and you have almost, I would say, the obligation to make sure everybody understands it will work out. You don't have to worry. Then we have the democratic style of leadership that you use when your goal is to seek consensus, when you want to make sure that we all agree on the decisions that we are making. This is needed sometimes, but there are also situations where a lot of discussions are not the best way to go. If you need quick decisions, you sometimes have to step up as a leader and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. I have decided this is the way it's done in our company. But then there are those issues where it's important that you agree, that you have a consensus, and then you can use a democratic style of leadership. You can think about, because this is a theoretical model, so it happens easily that it remains quite far away. Okay, what does this mean in practice? But take a moment to think about, for example, your daily work. Either if you're working as a manager or leader already, or if you're working as an employee, then you can look at your leader or your manager and think, when does he or she use these kind of leadership styles? Are you as a leader or manager able to switch depending on the situation? Or if you look at your manager, your leader, is he or she able to switch depending on the context, depending on the situation? Then we have two more here, commanding and pace setting. And the risk with these two is that they might, when wrongly used, lead to a very negative climate in the company. Commanding, as you can hear from the word, it's when you demand and control the people in the group. You say, you have to do this. I'm not going to discuss. You just obey. I'm the leader. This is the way we're going to do it. Again, pace setting, it's slightly the same, but it's used when you need or when you want things to be done very, very efficiently. You could almost compare this sometimes maybe to a military style of working. Sometimes in situations of crisis, where you have to make quick decisions, where you really need to make sure that things are done right away in the way you want them to be done, then you can use this kind of leadership. But if you continuing using it also on a daily basis, then you as a leader, you won't get very much done. You will not be able to get the people working and cooperating with you. So these are 6 different styles, and depending on the situation, depending on the context, a good leader is able to choose. So they are like tools for the leader. But let's go on and also shortly talk about entrepreneurs as leaders. Because we talked about starting up a business, being a business owner. If you start from scratch, if you start with a very small company and you want the company to develop and grow, things will change because your role as an entrepreneur will switch from being a very diverse role where you do pretty much everything. You're the marketer, you're the financial controller, you're the sales representative. All things that should be done, they have to be done by you because you're maybe the only person in the company. Then if some years later, for example, you find yourself in a situation where you have 10 or 20 employees, you cannot anymore be in control of everything, but you have to step up and lead the organization. This is also the same for those of you who are more interested in entrepreneurship. Even if you don't have your own company, but if you, for example, been in the situation where you've been an employee and you're now in the role of being a manager, you know that the situation changed. You have to step up from being an employee to being a manager. You have to let go of some things and you have to learn new things. New skills are needed, new knowledge is needed. The same goes for the business owner when the company grows. Often, for some reason, the tipping point, according to research, comes somewhere around 10 employees. Because if you're less than 10 people working in a group, you don't need a leader in the same sense. You can rely on consensus, you can discuss the things. But if you are more than 10 people in the team, then you need to divide the roles. You need to decide who's going to be in charge of what. And then the business owner needs to step up and be the leader of the company. This is something you can learn because maybe you remember I've said it before, you're not born an entrepreneur, you're not born a leader. Most people are able to learn. It's more about whether you are willing to learn or not. When the company grows, another option, of course, is to hire somebody to be the CEO, be the leader. If you're the one who started the company, if you're the owner, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the future leader of the company. One option could be to hire somebody else to do that. The main point here and the most important thing is that somebody needs to be in charge, somebody needs to be the leader in the company. To somehow sum it up, some of these things I have mentioned already, it is a process of becoming. It's something that you can learn, some skills and abilities that will emerge and they will evolve if you are willing to learn. A good way to learn is to think about your own experiences. What kind of leadership have you come across in your career? Can you think about good leaders? Can you think about leaders you have not liked very much? Those who have been, in your opinion, good leaders, why have they been good leaders? And if you come across bad leaders, I'm sure you have, I guess we all have, why do you think these people are bad leaders? What have they done wrong? This is something I encourage you to do before you go on with the assignment. Reflect on your own experiences of leadership. What kind of leadership brings up the best in you? What kind of leadership brings up the worst in you? Think about these questions, and when you have formulated some answers for yourself, you can move on to doing the assignment. Thank you very much.